I'm Danica Calendarolu. I am the owner of Pilates 804, located in Richmond, Virginia, and this is Eliza. And we are going to look at 5 intermediate exercises on the Wanda chair. And we all know that the chair is one of the hardest pieces of apparatus. And we are going to look at how the inner thighs really have to do something different in all of these exercises to really integrate with the whole body. It is important to remember that when you're on the chair, the spring settings are recommended, but depending on your skill level, your height, and your weight, you'll adjust the springs as need be for you. We're going to start with the reverse swan. She's on one low spring. She's going to come into her rolling like a ball balance. And it's important that there be at least a hand's distance from your pelvis to the back edge, so you want to move forward a little bit on the chair. And that being so that your sacrum actually has something to touch as you roll down. She brings the elbows back, legs extend out, and those inner thighs have a connection with the inner quad muscles to keep the lift. She's in Pilates V. She's going to take an inhale to curve around the ribs, finding 100 and a little bit more. Exhale as you go into the spring. Again, those inner thighs keeping the lift as well as promoting the length through the psoas, and coming around, and she's working. The exhale deepens into the spring. Let's give it 2 more. Easy in the neck. Remember, your neck is part of your spine, not your face. You want to bring your spine around the work of your abs. Then your neck will follow. Last one, and this time bringing the spring all the way up, letting the legs come down. We're going to stay on this low spring for swan. She's going to come onto her stomach, reach forward. You might want to come forward a little bit more, and you've got to find that perfect place where you don't feel like the spring is going to toss you back. The legs are together. Now the inner thighs are going to integrate more with the hamstring and the glute work to keep the height of the legs and the length of the quads in front, because we know that your glutes and your hammies, those are your extensors. With an inhale, the shoulder blades will take their natural movement together and down, allowing the collarbone to open. And again, check in the neck. Exhale into the spring as you come down. Inhale, finding the length of your inner thighs against the reaching of the waist in the other direction. Squeeze those heels together, Eliza, so you really find center. Exhale over. 1 more. Inhale. Now find that idea of your feet are in one place, the head's in the other. Yes! And exhale down, letting the legs reach for the floor as you let the spring up slowly and with control. I always like to take a little bit of flexion of the spine after you do anything extension-wise, rolling up. And then we're going to look at cat. Adding 1 more low spring. This is a peak chair with brand new springs on it, so the springs are kind of heavy. She's going to come onto her knees. We're going to do a parallel, which still has this feeling of adduction of the inner thighs. You don't want to sit out to your IT bands and sit out to your outer quads, but you're not squeezing your knees together either. For safety, I'm going to keep I keep a hand here and just a little light press, not really doing much, but it makes her feel good. And as you exhale and go over, peeling the spine around the flexion of the abs, the inner thighs find your knees. Find that sense of standing down through. It's an exhale into the spring. We're not going to take any of the pumping, so go where you feel comfortable, Eliza. Use your inhale to float up. And again, those knees, keep a reference to center from the inner thigh work. Let your neck dangle down. Let it dangle. Yes, and now let your mid-back follow the weight of your head. Look, you found a little bit more. And coming up, inhale floats up. She's doing such a good job that I really don't need to be here, but I just really like to be. And all the way back down. And those inner thighs work the hardest on the way up. Finding the insertion of that psoas and lengthening down into the knees so you can pull back forward, pressing open the front of the hips. Good stuff. Let's go and do 1 more of those because I felt good about that. Yeah? Exhaling over. And your challenge is to not sit back until you have to. You will have to at some point. And going over with an exhale into the spring. Finding the heels, reach back. Give me a flexing of your feet for me, please, for a challenge, because pointing just seems way too easy for you. Inhale, lift up. Good. Exhale, down, over. So that inner thigh work down and out through the soles of the feet. Yes, which wakes up the integration of pretty much everything, right? Because it's a whole body exercise all the time. It's Pilates. Back over, using that nice inhale, using the inner thigh work to articulate the pelvis back forward. Pull, 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 pull. Ta-da! Stepping off. And now we're going to look at pull up. So she's going to change one of the springs from a low to a high. So we're on a high, low. She comes around to the front. Now it's a lot of spring. One foot stands on the floor, other presses down with all its might. Good, and we're going to find, I prefer this one in a Pilates V. The inner thighs, as previously in the cat, had a huge challenge on the knees, preparing you for how much you need to stand into, I'm going to bring your pants up so that you can see the lift of the arch. The inner thigh should connect to that. And then, all it takes is a little inhale, and let the spring do its job. The exhale contracts the abs, allowing the lumbar to extend down through the sacrum, down through the tail, down into all that work that the adductors, and it's the natural action of those inner thighs to come together, but sometimes we forget about how much they have to reach as an extension of your sits bones where they originate. And exhale going over. Good. Yes, inhale coming up. And last one, exhale going over that low ab work. It's so good, it's so good. Going on into our lunge, come parallel, feet together. And a little bit towards the back of the pedal with the ball of the foot, because as you come up, head's the last thing up. Articulating, finding pelvis, ribs, head. Noticing that she's on a pitch. If she stands up straight, she's going to kick back into her low back. Then you'll be lifting with your back. The adductors, inner thighs, pulling together in space. Exhale into the spring on the way down. Let that inhale inflate. Find your forearms in space. We forget about them a lot. Like you don't have them, but you do. Squaring the hips as you come up, only going as low as you can maintain square in the hips. And coming down all the way, which will break square, curving over. And she's going to do her other leg because I really don't like people to be lopsided. It's just not a good idea. Here's the last thing. Rolling up. Reach. Finding your pinky fingers out of those forearms. Inner thighs. Doing their thing. Good. Exhale. You can see it's a struggle for her to not snap down onto her back. Good. Exhale. Right? But you can be a little bit of upper ab 100 feeling. Yes. And looking for the stretch in that leg on the pedal, which should come a lot from that inner thigh. Reaching and stretching open the quad, stretching open the hip flexor, all the way down to the ground, rounding it back over. There's a lot of weight in the spring. I'm going to help her and control it up. Rolling yourself up. These are all intermediate exercises, and we actually did a nice warm-up workout before we did any of this. So make sure that if you're going to do any of these that you've properly warmed up. And again, the springs can move up and down for whatever you need strength and skill level-wise. Thank you.